Okay, so I just moved the camera in here from where I was. I was out setting up a barrel in the lathe, and I had a decision to make. And I told you when we came back that decision was going to be made. Well, I lied a little bit. Because as is my wont, I changed direction. Number one, I had to decide which action now I want to make this fireform barrel on, because it's a fireform barrel. It could be on a Remington 700, but to me, building and barreling a Remington 700 is like, yet again, walking over and banging my head on the tractor bucket as I forget where it is. Just no. So, you're going to get another lesson in how this is not your typical YouTube channel. I'm not a tuber. I just don't, as I watch people out there bouncing from scene to scene and blinded. One of the things that drives me the craziest about watching one of these channels is watching some goozer come up, because I'm going somewhere to learn, alright? The good ones are the car repair videos. Guy walks out of his garage holding the camera and says, we got to fix this 92 Camry, and he has at it. Well, that's what this is. This is no YouTube channel. This is a fix-it thing, because there is nothing worse than watching some snatch and grabber out there blasting from scene to scene. If you're the kind of person that needs car chases and bright lighting and you don't understand, you know, my favorite movies are like Schindler's List or The Pianist, or, you know, there's not a car scene one in either movie. But I'm sorry, that's more like what we're doing here. I'm trying to impart information, and nothing bothers me more than going to these tubers that claim to be, we're going to teach you today how to, so here's the thing set up, and we're going to do it, and we did this, and now here we go. Now we're going to put this scope on it, and we're going to, you know, say thanks to whatever brand name insert here, and we're going to talk. I'm sorry, people, but that's not information. That is not only, that's not even non-information, that's just sales. I ain't selling nothing. I got nothing to sell, and if I did, I wouldn't sell it, because this is not the proper venue for that. What I'm here for is to go through and share with you what I'm doing. And in that light, I have chosen an action. I just was talking about it the other day. I'm going to put this barrel on an action that was kind of furthest from my mind, because this is an LV gun. It's got a weight system, so it can be an LV or an HV, but I don't know if I'll ever use it in heavy. I'm just playing with this. I just built a, shoot, it's laying around here somewhere. I just screwed the, well, here's part of it. This all matches up inside. I've hollowed it out a little bit. I can do adjustable weights. I can move a weight around. Don't know if any of it's ever going to be, but right now it's a perfectly legit LV setup. So putting a long range barrel on it is kind of furthest from my thoughts. I don't know if I could ever make it heavy enough to be effectual as a 17-pound gun or even a 15-pound gun. But I've decided that, so I have to throw another stock on it or get another one. I'm assuming that these bats are close enough to the same that I can interchange parts. And again, I'm doing a nutted barrel. Bingo! That allows me to do all kinds of cool stuff. So, nutted barrel, and here, this is going to illustrate one of the reasons why I'm so hot about figuring out how to nut a barrel right now. It has some awesome facility. Now, I had given up, as of when I started doing this series of videos, I swore off nutting. I don't know if you're ever going to see that part of the video, but I was doing some videos to prove a point, and I was trying to illustrate the Gordy method. I made the mistake of leaving my music on in the videos, so I've got hours and hours of footage where, unfortunately, there's music playing in the background. And that, for very good reasons, goes against YouTube's policies, unless I can find each song, look up everybody, and pay them royalties. I'm working around that. There's the possibility that I might be able to post those videos up with the music intact and all they'll do is put ads on it. I don't know, but I don't want to step afoul of anybody here. I'm here specifically and only to share some information. So in that light, and to go back to my earlier rant about all the non-information, I go to a YouTube channel or anything else to learn how it's done. There's nothing in my life more frustrating than seeing a thing that's done and they skip the how did they do it part. Sorry folks, but I really don't give a rat's sass what happened. I want to see how it happened. That's why I'm here. So, I'm going to take this thing apart from start to finish. I'm going to make a fireform gun using this this Nouveau Action. And we'll go fireform some cartridges. We're going to go through this whole thing of how I produce cases and brass. It all started on one side producing brass and went, this isn't going to work because my thing didn't work. My idea of forming some cases without shooting them just went sideways. So we're going to make a fireform gun. We're going to go shoot them. As I've been talking, I've been looking idly in that direction for the wrench that I want, and I think I finally located it. So let's go ahead and start taking this apart. And I'm going to put in some, there's going to be certain things you're going to hear over and over for a variety of reasons. None of them having anything to do with insulting your intelligence, more like mine, and the fact that sometimes I forget to cover things, so I'd rather cover it twice. As I've said in one of the other videos at least, if you've the attention span of a gnat, you're at the wrong place. This is not that kind of a channel. Okay. No, this is, unfortunately for you, what I'm doing here is what I would like to see. I'm doing this the way I want to. I paid for it. It's my party. I can do whatever I want. So, the beauty of YouTube, like anything else, and this goes back to one of my gripes on the internet. Some yahoo comes on and says, you know, they're offended by what you're saying, or they don't, your interplay is stupid, we don't want to, so don't listen, you friggin' retard. Walk away, for crying out loud. There's just so much wrong with people that, number one, get offended by other people around them, and number two, blame it. People, if you don't like this channel, if you don't like me, if you don't like the shape of my nose, I don't care what you don't, go away. This isn't hard. This isn't rocket science. So, the reason that I'm so fired up about this nut deal is going to become apparent right now. This is an action that I have had trouble grasping. They make a rear action wrench, of course. I would guess that every other Nouveau on the planet's been barreled using the wrench. But if you take a look at this bolt, right on the other side of that wall there, there's trucks and tools, and there's air guns that have got 1-inch spline shafts on them, and there's nuts this big around, and there's, we're used to breaking stuff, alright? I look at this bolt and the size of this little area, and I peek inside there and I go, I want a wrench that sticks way back here? For real? And it's only that big around? And I want to reach that far in? And I've bent every rear action entry wrench I've ever used. I haven't ruined them, I'm just saying I've bent them. I overstress them, and I catch them failing very, very early on. In some cases I went and bent them back. In some cases I've continued to use them. But that's how you find the limits of a thing. In the concrete world, the contention is you can't be a good concrete truck driver until you rolled a truck. And that's completely true. Of any kind of, you know, dozer, backhoe, track hoe, skid steer. Come on, there's got to be some skiddy runners out there. So, where I'm coming from is the fact that I don't like this little weenie wrench. Now, if everything was full, you know, but I understand the design of the action. These flats don't work here. Yeah, wow. I'm going to have to drop this down. Sorry about that, guys. I hope I didn't spend too much time out of the camera because I wasn't 100% looking at the monitor. I was looking down at the work. So anyway, there's a couple of flats right here. And if I turn this over because it's loose like that, as it rolls, you'll be able to see. I might play with that lighting again, but I think the lighting thing is coming together better now. I'm learning how this camera works. It's a pretty action. I put some throwaway bases on here because they were the right shape, because I could easily rough them up and make them fit and scratch the top of the action and pin and put these down, and they're on there hopefully solidly. To find that out, one day after I've shot it for a while, I'll pull the screws out and go shoot it with no screws and see if it stays on. Probably won't. I would like to see, if not a one-piece rail with 2 pins in it, 2-piece with a pin and a pin. If there's a pin here and here, then you can tighten it down and there's not going to be any swiveling action, but this thing shakes around like a gale wind on a palm tree when it's fired. So, that's a very short way of saying I don't like the action wrenching options. I have, well, I'll just show you what I did. This is what I built, and it fits on there perfectly, and it's got a little room to slip, and I center it up, and so far with 8 barrels I've never slipped it. But got a nice big inch 350. I have 1 inch 350 shouldered barrel for it, which to me is the ultimate. I've got several inch 250s, which I guess I would call the penultimate. And then when I tried to do an inch 2, I chickened out and I turned it into a nut job, and now I've got 3 or 4 of these nut jobs. So obviously for the shoulder barrels I have to use this because I don't have the inside action wrench and I don't want to follow up on that option. So I find that this is an inspired way to do business. Now I'm going to do it kind of the hard way, because normally I had set this wrench up, I spin it together outside, and it doesn't teach you why it's important to me, I guess. I spin it together and I slip it over before I put it in the barrel vise. But I just want to show you that in this situation, it doesn't matter if you're out, if you've got a barrel vise or if you have 2 action wrenches like I can make a barrel vise out of an action wrench that will hold just fine for the little bit of torque we're putting on here. It doesn't take as much torque to tighten these nuts down to torque spec as it does to turn this joint right here. And there's a good reason to take this off of here anyway, because I'm going to play with, well, all kinds of things that we're going to learn about as we go through this nutting odyssey. And I realize that I keep referring to nutting, and I realize that I'm getting ready to publish this on the internet, and I realize that that's going to bring the Peabodys out of the basements across the land. But you know what? This ain't for you people. You can say what you want. It doesn't matter. Haters gonna hate. Always. I've been hated on some. So anyway, I believe this to be inch 350 sized. I'm going to find out visually. Stick it up here on that inch 350 ring and see visually. This should be an unmodified Remington diameter. The clues I have to that are that the only thing on it is rosin. It hasn't been turned out. I haven't modded. Yeah, I guess it's just been used so much. The corners are worn off here too, so it turns out it's all silvery inside. That's. I'm sure I have some new ones here. Newer. Okay, so gotta decide if there's room for paper in there or not. try. Put a little piece of shimmage in there and see what it feels like. As I said, some of this is going to be long and boring. This is the way I go through my day. I don't, and honestly, I'm not going to just prep this stuff up and say, bam, this would happen, bam, this would happen, because when I went on the YouTube and looked for other people purportedly talking about the same things I'm talking about, which made it a tiny bit relevant to me, that's all I saw, was people glossing over all the real stuff and just dribbling on about how cool things were. Sorry. Maybe you should go over to that channel instead of this one, because I am long and slow and painstaking and thorough, and there ain't nothing quick about me. Now, that said, I may well have the opportunity to quicken some of this stuff up if I ever do the video editing software. I just know that the only thing that's quickening me up right now is that I just came out of the shop and I got this Australian coat liner on that was, because it's cold out there. I worked my shop through all kinds of temperatures. So, this is why measurements really don't mean a thing to me. Every measurement I take is suspect. I don't live in a world where I'm in a controlled shop environment. This is not a production shop. This is my house. Production shops have a whole different level of responsibility to their customers and a whole different level of repeatability standards and people to answer to, and I don't have to answer to anybody. The only thing that messes with my life is when I go out and don't win because I screwed up, and that has just recently happened. I haven't done well at a match for a while, and it's 100% my fault. Always is, so it doesn't matter. But. So this is kludgy. I never do this upside down. There's so much about this that I'm doing backwards. But I'm showing you why I'm doing what I'm doing, and why it's important to me. The reason is because I can really get a solid action affixing action. Boy, that wasn't exactly smooth. I maybe should have rehearsed that. Without ever stressing the action. How bad is that? The barrel is held in a conventional barrel vise. At this point, I would stick a thing up the back side of this action and rip it off of there. I don't like that. So I'm going to use a classic action wrench, and here again is where I'm going to diverge wildly from the internet. I search this kind of stuff on the tube, and one of the things that causes my heart to quail within me is the number of people, and I would put it at about 92%, that take these off with a hammer. What kind of retarded is it for me to be banging on a $2,000 or $3,000 system with a hammer? For what? Because it's hard? Get a bigger tool. Rant over. So, Mr. Leverage. Enter Mr. Leverage, our friend. Got tape on this side so I don't scratch up my barrel. Tool. Mr. Leverage puts me anywhere I want to be. And trust me, I can break loose the world with Mr. Leverage. I can support this. I didn't even grunt, and I'm prone to histrionics. Here we are. That's loose. Here we are. Hang on, guys. This self-filming, the bane of my existence. Okay, so you saw Mr. Leverage in action, but you didn't see how cool this is. I came loose. Okay, I was there. I was tight. Punk with Mr. Leverage. And Mr. Nouveau is mine. So off she come. Mr. Nouveau will be in hand, and when I go to tighten it back on, barrel nut, straight stresses, and if my latest and greatest and newest plan works out, even the forces against the face of the action. See, here we go. I've only had, let me back up a little bit. This is not to badmouth bat, but bat actions, bat's stainless steel scares the ever-living P-Waddy out of this Minnesota farm boy. I've never galled anything in my life except a bad action. Twice. Got him back, didn't wreck him. But if I'm wearing through, if I wear through, which I haven't at this point, I thought for a minute that I had, but that's lead residue. As I'm talking, I'm finding out that this is because I used lead. So I should go wash my hands. And I'm serious about that. I don't, you know, that's not much lead, but I know 2 people who are dying from lead, so I get it. So I'll go clean the lead off, but I evidently used a lead-based anti-seize on this. But I just wanted to come in here and illustrate. This is one of the reasons. This is how easy it is to take these down. And if my spacer system works out, the next time I come back and I'm tightening this back up, not only that, but it will eliminate the scrubbing action against the face of the action. Because if this ever scrubs through, which it will if I work on it enough, now we're talking about bat Precision's stainless against barrel stainless, and that's not my favorite combination in all the world. I've got a lot of grease on this thing specifically for that reason, and I don't want to chew this action face up. Right now it's melanited, so it's hard as a bone. It'll always be hard. So I probably will never go through it. But still, if my system works out and I'm using a collar, all of these forces will be transmitted directly and straight without any scrubbing action. So we're going to go on this together and find out if it's going to pay off in the end.